So Meek Mill just released a new album, and as you can see, the cover art is an illustration featuring dark-skinned black women strippers who are naked, bent over, and twerking. There's even a little pink dot to represent the vajayjay on one of the women who are bending over. And to my understanding, this cover art is being advertised on a bus that is public transportation in Philadelphia. And it was also brought to my attention that this cover was illustrated by a black queer woman. I believe she is a lesbian. And before I continue, I am asking my subscribers or the women listening to this video, please refrain from going to any of her social media to harass or attack her. That is completely unnecessary, and I am not trying to get blamed for it. And I do see black men solely trying to blame this on the black female artist, but the fact is that black men promote this kind of imagery of black women all the time. They promote this kind of imagery of all women all the time. Black women don't even have to be involved. So I just think that's a weak argument. This was also Meek Mill's idea, and the artist brought it to life. And usually when black women are participating in this kind of representation, they are following the black male's lead. And y'all can sit there and argue with me all you want, but the history of hip hop tells a different story. Most black men want to promote black women in this manner. They want to promote women in this manner. And the few black men I saw who took issue with this, they're being shut down and drowned out by other black men who don't see an issue with it. They're being drowned out by black people, including black women who don't see an issue with this. So that shows you that this kind of representation is a cultural norm, and both genders keep allowing this to happen. And I do believe that black women in particular keep allowing this to happen because we know that bending over and busting it open is the quickest way to get validation and attention from most black men. And so this kind of imagery, whether it's illustrated or not, will continue to be very popular in the black community. And I do think it's important to observe and discuss the black male identified mentality of most black women who support and make this kind of imagery. Because in my opinion, I don't think any black woman in her right mind with any sort of self-pride or sense of self-worth, they would not have created anything like this for somebody like Meek Mill. So I think it's very important to talk about how black women support this imagery and continue to cape for the men who inspire it, all to complain about being objectified and misrepresented later. We do have to hold ourselves accountable in this as well, black women. And so I'll be discussing all of that in this video, and I also want to discuss the white man that called this out. So make sure you listen until the end. So Meek Mill titled this album Expensive Pain. It appears to symbolize his financial achievements and what money and fame have afforded him, hence the strippers, the cars, the dollar signs. And it also appears to imply that money hasn't brought him happiness, hence the image of the black man with the tear under his eye. And there's also a chessboard and the dice indicating game and strategy and possibly the music industry and maybe even the criminal justice system because he has been in trouble with the law as well. There's also fire on the painting, possibly indicating danger and destruction. And we could go on and on and on and try to peel back all of the layers of this piece. But my point in explaining all of that is to say that I, and many others, I'm sure, understand the meaning of this piece. We don't need an abstract art lesson. We don't need to think deeper. We get it. We know that it's art, but art can be problematic. And the most important thing to me is how art like this negatively impacts the well-being, the psyche, and the image of black women, and dark-skinned black women specifically. Because whether you see this or not, black women, this is just another example of not only the image of dark-skinned black women being over-sexualized and being used as nothing more than a sexual object. Because be clear, these trash black male rappers like Meek Mill, they don't actually date women who are the shade of the women in this painting. His actual romantic preference looks totally different. They are light-skinned women. But notice that the artist did not paint them that color. I don't know if that was his idea or that was her idea, but that is significant. So that is the first problem. And the second issue is the image of dark-skinned black women is yet again being associated with pain and dysfunction. The actual title has the word pain in it with the black man crying. So I believe there's some symbolism in that as well. And even though strippers get money, they can be considered expensive. There are also a lot of negative connotations that come with strippers, and men look down on them as well. And because dark-skinned women are considered to be at the bottom of the beauty hierarchy, and because dark-skinned black women themselves have internalized that, and we know that showing ass is the only way to get their attention, this dark-skinned woman artist, of course, painted them dark. And she is queer, so it is possible that this is something that she wants to see and something that she likes to look at. It's possible that she painted them dark because she is dark-skinned. But the reason why I believe that this is related to an inferiority complex and rooted in colorism is because black women, regardless of their sexual orientation, especially if they're on that pro-black male, woke, Black Lives Matter tip, which this woman is, and I'll get into that in a minute, they are strangely very black male identified. Even though they are romantically attracted to other women, and even though they claim to prioritize the plight of black women. Because I'm sure Meek knows, I'm sure this artist knows, that strippers come in every shade and ethnicity. And according to the sex industry, the light, bright, and white strippers and sex workers, they make the most money. They also appeal the most to black men, but somehow in this illustration, all of them ended up dark. I don't think that's a coincidence. And for you abstract art experts out there that want to try to break stuff down to us, y'all need to get into that symbolism and truly flesh out your interpretations. Draw it all the way out. And for those of you who say, oh, it's just art, it's not. This is representation like everything else. And if you can argue that black girls and black boys need better cartoons, or if you've ever said that black girls need more black Disney princesses, you should be able to acknowledge the issues with this. And if you can also embrace and celebrate all of this other black and hotep art, like the Black Lives Matter art and all the art showing black women and black girls on the front lines, if you can use all of those paintings as your profile pictures on Instagram and Facebook because you like how it looks and it makes you feel good, or the people illustrated look similar to you, then don't tell me it's just art. Art is very impactful. It influences people all over the world. And you don't just get to minimize that and gaslight us just because this conversation makes you feel uncomfortable. Now, I did do a little bit of research on the artist. I looked on her website. And to be fair, I did find that she consistently makes art like this. She's not just painting or illustrating naked black women. She does paint naked people in general, and she paints them in a sexual, abstract kind of way. But I did notice that there's also a racial and political element to a lot of her pieces. So I immediately got the social justice vibe when looking at them. And after reading various write-ups about her, it was confirmed that, she's very political in her artwork. She's also followed by several liberal black feminists and pro-black black woman activists. And I'm only pointing this out because unfortunately, and this doesn't apply to all of them, but most black women who have those politics, they also tend to be very pro-black male, but at the expense of their own image and well-being. And we see this with the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. They have consistently prioritized the injustices against black men while putting the black woman's plight, their own plight, on the back burner. So when you consider all of that, the color the artist used for the women she illustrated, it's no surprise that they're dark skinned. And I believe it points to a bigger issue of the internalized misogynoir and colorism within dark skinned black women, as well as low self-esteem and self-worth. And I don't think that's far-fetched because it's not like she painted this for another woman or for the queer community. She specifically painted this for a black male rapper who has colorist lyrics and has a romantic preference for light-skinned women. And again, any dark-skinned woman in her right mind would not do this for him and would not want her image to be depicted in this manner and wouldn't want her artwork connected to somebody like Meek Mill. And I know she was paid to do this, but again, considering that she's pro-black, she's woke, she's political, and she seems to be feminist, this wasn't just for the money, you guys. Her pro-black male politics are likely attached to this. And this is why women like me, we constantly get on here and tell you guys that black women, no matter the sexual orientation, they have been indoctrinated and conditioned to worship black men. Because honestly, what queer woman would do this for a man like Meek Mill? And y'all get extremely triggered, but this is why I always say that a lot of black people in the LGBT, they're just as colorist, they're just as anti-black woman as straight black black people. It just does not make sense that a woman like this would assist black men in their misogynoir at the expense of herself and her image. And once again, I have to say this, but where are the black feminists on this that always want to come at us? That always want to talk about how classist the black woman in luxury movement is, or how Eurocentric and misogynistic the femininity and hypergamy conversation is. Where y'all at? Why y'all so quiet? And they're most likely going to continue to stay quiet on this, even though it's harmful to dark-skinned women, because respectfully criticizing black queers on anything to them is homophobic. And let's be real, a lot of those women, they support imagery like this. They don't care. They support it all to complain about it later, because when I did my commentary about the City Girls twerk video, and I told y'all that this kind of representation was too prominent, especially with dark-skinned black women, when I told you that there wasn't enough mainstream balance in our representation, y'all dragged me all over the internet, and a lot of it was from the black feminists. But these will be the same women crying about misogyny, literally. And when I told you that this constant over-sexualized depiction of black women was a problem and it was out of hand, you complained and you told me that I was trying to take away your twerking and your form of expression. And dark-skinned women, we do this all the time. We will defend the right to be hypersexualized by black men. We'll even beg for it, like we did with the Yo Gotti video. So with that being the case, we really do look silly complaining about Meek Mill's cover art. And I don't want to conflate different populations of black women. I know different black women are saying different things, but I do see some of the same women who will co-sign songs and videos like WAP. They are outraged about this, and it doesn't make sense. If you have an issue being over-sexualized and objectified in the media, and especially by black men, and you agree that there should be more balance in our representation, you have to be consistent. You have to start denouncing this, and you have to start supporting other imagery. And I know the counter argument is going to be, well, other races of women, they get to have both. We're allowed to have different representation. And that's true. We are allowed to have both. The problem is there's no balance and it's too lopsided. It would be different if dark-skinned black women, or the image of dark-skinned black women, was also going viral for other types of promotion. But since we're not, and it's sex, 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 sex everywhere, that's a problem. And we can't keep allowing this to happen and shutting other black women down, like myself, for having a problem with the imbalance. You can't be mad that other black women have higher standards than you. You can't be mad that we're unwilling to accept any kind of promotion that's thrown at us, especially by colorist black male rappers. We don't have to continue to accept that. Those days are over. And we can't keep complaining about the problem while simultaneously defending it, ladies. That does not make sense. Now, let's get into this irate white man who went off about this cover art on the bus.
Look at this bus that goes by in my neighborhood. What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? What is this? This is on the side of a bus. This is on the side of a bus rolling through your street. Rolling on the side of your street. Is this what you want, black women? Is this what you want, black women? Is this what you want? Look at this bull fucking shit. Look at this shit on the side of a bus. Is this what you want, black women? Is this what you want? Is this how you want to be respected? Is this how you want to be respected in life? This is how you want to look? This is how you want to be portrayed? Stand up to this bullshit. This is on the side of a bus where little girls can pull up and see this shit.
Now, some people were saying this man is racist, and the only reason why he was upset is because the illustrations were of naked black women and he's repulsed by black women. And it is possible that he is racist, but it's also possible that he really felt like this was inappropriate, and especially inappropriate to be advertised on public transportation and in front of children. And of course, we all know that white men objectify and sexually exploit their women as well. If they didn't, there wouldn't be feminism. So that is not lost on me at all. But even with all of their objectification of white women, I can honestly say that I have never seen this type of depiction of white women, or any race of women for that matter, on a city bus or public transportation. Like, we just need to be honest about that. Something like this with other races of women would be on a porn site or some type of sexual site for men. I'm sorry, but we have to hold this L. This is the black community that does this the most, and this is black culture. And if we want to compare other races, other groups of men, they also have a larger variety of promotion for their women. Now, the women women may not be completely satisfied with that promotion, but they do get a bigger variety. Their promotion is not lopsided. They don't consistently go viral for twerking or for being hypersexualized. There is way more balance. And I'm sorry, but y'all need to stop denying that fact. And while I don't feel that this white man deserves all kind of praise from black women for stating the obvious, I don't necessarily think it came from a place of some deep level of care and concern for black women, but I'm also not going to object to what he said either. We don't need to develop some savior complex because he said what he said, but I'm also not going to die on this hill. I'm not going to be like, oh, he's racist, and I'm not doing all that either. He said what he said, and it's a shame that he was more outraged about this than black men. And Rizza Islam actually pointed out how bad this makes black men look. So there are a handful of black men who see this like, hey, brothers, this looks bad. But that's not enough. Most black men, they don't see how stupid this makes them look. And it's a shame that this white man was more outraged by this than the community itself, but that just goes to show you the difference in culture. And if you as a black person feel embarrassed by this white man calling this out, then you need to ask yourself why. And black women, and dark-skinned black women specifically, I think he poses a valid question. Do we want to be portrayed like this? Because I think most of us do. Either we do because, again, we're desperate for black men to promote us, so we take what we can get. Even if it's scarce or bottom of the barrel promotion, we'll take it. And there's also the black women who are just indifferent and they don't care about this. They don't see how this perpetuates colorism. They don't think it negatively impacts them. They think they're special. They think the constant degradation and the terrible promotion doesn't rub off on them. And that's, of course, until they get stereotyped or some colorist black man tries to use them for sex, or maybe when they find out that their dark-skinned daughter has internalized what some colorist entertainer said about dark-skinned black women, or she's coming home from school crying about colorism, then y'all want to come back to me talking about, Chrissy, you were right. We always wake up when it's too late and after we've supported, defended, or dismissed the problem. But I will acknowledge that I didn't always know this information. So I try to give a little bit of grace to the black women that don't know. And so I'm hoping that the artist that created this album, I'm hoping that she knows better now and she will do better going forward. If not for the collective of black women, for the sake of her own image as a dark-skinned black woman, for the sake of her dignity. And for the dark-skinned women who know better, but you still support these colorist men who help destroy your image, in my opinion, you have no right to complain because you clearly want things to stay how they are. And the answer to this white man's question is yes, you want to be portrayed like this. You want this. And it pains me to say it, but most black women, we do want it. We do want it. But for the women who don't, make sure you join the mailing list. My private app will be launching later this month. And it's for like-minded women, dark-skinned black women who are serious about their image and serious about corrective promotion for dark-skinned black women and girls. The link to the mailing list is in the description box. Let me know what you think about this video down in the comment section. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you in the next one.